All right. So today in this video, I'm going to be answering a question that I have been receiving from individuals who are studying for their civil FE exam. Many of the students have been wondering, like, how much time does it actually take to study for the test, and when will they actually know when they're ready and feel confident to take the test? So this is not going to be one of your fancy, high quality YouTube videos, but I am going to be sharing a lot of information. So I hope that you have, pen, paper. You're going to be taking some notes and really kind of interacting with this content. So let's go ahead and kind of dive in. I have a lot to share. All right. So, how much time should you actually take to study for your civil FE exam? Well, the answer to this is it is going to vary from person to person. And so, really, what I've noticed, or what is typical, is that students will study for about 1 to 2 hours each day for a period of about 3 months. Now, for some people, you may say, I don't want to spend 90 days or 3 months studying for this exam. I just graduated college and I feel like this stuff is fresh and I don't want to drag this out for too long. So there's a few signs that I like to kind of bring up and share with you, because I think if you can identify and go through these different signs, it'll let you know whether you're actually ready to go ahead and take your test, or if you need some extra time to study and knock out some practice problems. Okay, so the first sign is going to be really just assessing where you're currently at as far as knowledge and skills are concerned with the material. So there's a lot of material for the FE exam. And so you really want to review the test specifications. Test specifications is just a big word for, hey, what material is actually going to be on this test? And what some people may find that's a little different is everything that you studied in school, to be a civil engineer, all of that material is actually not going to be on your test. So you need to know and identify, what will be on the test and what won't. So we can do this by looking at the test specifications. So I'm going to pull up the test specifications just so you kind of have an idea. So everybody's given a FE handbook, you know, as a reference. So here's kind of what it looks like. You can go on the NCEES website to access this. This is a 500 page or 500 plus page document. But what we really want to do is we just want to go to FE exam specifications, and we just want to look at civil. Okay. So as we're looking at these specifications, we kind of want to get a good idea of what will be on the test. So for the civil section, you're going to have, it looks like, 14 different topics, beginning from mathematics to construction engineering, right? And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can kind of see this a little bit better. But basically, the NCEES, those are the people who are over this test. They tell you what's going to be on the test. And so your next step, once you've kind of looked through these, is to make sure that you feel comfortable with the material. So I'm going to give you an example of what that looks like, because if you're looking at this stuff and you're saying, let's say you look at the handbook, right? And you say, well, I know how. You look at vector operations, for example, and you say, I remember how to do vectors. Vectors aren't that hard. If you do that, but you haven't looked at, problems that deal with vectors, or problems, how they would typically ask you these type of problems, and what they would be asking you to solve for as far as vector operations is concerned, then when you get on the test, you may struggle with vector operations. So what would be a good thing that you could do in order to make sure that you are going to be confident on the test? Well, a good rule of thumb is to go through each of these and make sure you can identify the type of problem, which we'll look at a few so you know what I mean by this. But let's just take vector operations, for example. So with vector operations, you would need to look at a few different types of vector problems, vector operation problems. So I'm going to leave access to this document that links to some of this stuff because I think it'll be good for you. But basically, you want to look at some vector operations practice problems, right? And this is a good link to go to for this. This deals with dot product. So there's a few different types of problems just associated with vectors, but dot product would be a type of vector operations problem. So you would look at a few of these, right? You don't have to look at all of them, but maybe try number one. That's asking you to do dot product. Maybe number 4 is asking you to find angle between vectors. And then number 6, allowing you to be able to determine, if vectors are parallel or orthogonal or neither. Right? So this link gives you, clear solutions that allows you to make sure that you can get these answers. So that would be an example for vector operations. So once you've done some practice with it, feel like you're confident with it, okay, great. Let's look at another example. We will look at, I think I have on here, I've tried to make this as simple as possible. We can look at kinematics, right? Kinematics is another topic, and kinematics is in the dynamics section here. So you're gonna have to know how to do different kinematics problems. So, how would I know if I'm good on this topic? Well, I would go to some practice problem sets that deals with kinematics. And so I have some links to these, websites where you're going to be able to have direct access, to be able to do these practice problems. So here's a good example of a kinematics practice problem. Basically, says a car begins driving from a stationary position. It accelerates at 4 meters per second squared for 10 seconds, then travels at a steady speed for another 10 seconds. All in the same direction. How much distance has it covered since it started driving? Okay. So with this, you're dealing with velocities, you're dealing with acceleration, you're dealing with time. So you would need to know, when reading this problem, just by reading this problem, you would need to know that this is a kinematics problem, right? And you would need to know how to solve it. So this gets, very, very detailed as far as being able to do, all of these different topics and feeling comfortable with them. Now, there are 80 of them. And so I want to show you one more example. We'll look at, under geotechnical engineering, we'll look at bearing capacity. Right. So bearing capacity. Let's look at some problems for bearing capacity. So here, I've been able to, go ahead and link to this stuff, but here's a good bearing capacity practice problem. Basically, when you're dealing with bearing capacity, you're dealing with footings, you're dealing with a bunch of different variables, including C, NC, and you probably can't see some of this stuff. Let me zoom in here. Some of the variables that you're dealing with would be C, NC, unit weight, DF, NQ. So there's a B in Y. So there's a lot of variables that are associated with bearing capacity. But this practice problem will show you, hey, do you have a good idea of bearing capacity? Under the geotech section, are you familiar with how to solve the problem in 3 minutes? And also, another thing to kind of check for is, are you able to use the handbook to be able to do it? So I'll just search bearing capacity. And so in the handbook, that formula that I just showed you, I know how to get to it. And so you'll need to know how to get to it as well. Ultimate bearing capacity, you're dealing with, this is in your handbook, C, NC, and all these different variables. What are their, what do these different variables mean? And being able to pair, those variables from the problem to this equation, right? So, and those are just 3 different examples that I tried to share with you to let you know, hey, this is a sign. Hey, have you done some practice problems going through these 80 different topics? And if you have, that's probably a good sign that, okay, I feel, decently ready for this test. Okay. Now the second sign that I would advise kind of going through and doing is, so I've again, I will be linking this document down in the description box below. So if you want to access some of these practice problems, feel free to. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I haven't even given you a proper introduction, but my name is James Huntley. I am a FE Civil mentor and coach. I have been helping individuals pass their Civil FE exam over the past 2 years. And, I actually really enjoy tutoring people and kind of helping people overcome some of these challenges when it comes to test taking, when it comes to building good habits. Behind me, maybe you guys can see it. Hopefully you can see it. Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books. And it's something that I kind of live by. You have to build really good habits. And so through this test, the students that I get to work with one-on-one, I'm helping them not only study for this test, but I'm helping them build quality habits. So it's really exciting. So definitely subscribe to the channel. I'm not only going to be going through FE content, but as time goes on. I'm currently studying for my PE, so I'm going to be sharing, information as far as PE stuff and how to study for that. I'm also going to be, I'm learning a lot in land development design as well. So I'll probably be doing some tutorials and things that can really help individuals understand hydrology, hydraulics, and just stormwater design type stuff. So I'm really excited about it. So yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right. So just some extra little pointers. A good rule of thumb that lets you know that you're ready for this test is when you see a problem, you should be able to match that problem to a topic that's going to be covered on the test. So if you see a problem that says determine the dot product A dot B with these different variables, you should be able to match that to this is a vector problem. This is a vector operations. I don't know why it doesn't want to highlight, but all right, whatever. This is a vector operations type problem. So yes, that's very, 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 very important. So whenever you see problems, you should be able to match them to the topic that is covered in the exam specifications. Okay. Also, if you are not able to do that, or if you are wanting to get started to be able to do that, then I do have a starter kit that's completely free to you. I give you 2 of the 14 topics. We'll just take a look at the starter kit real quick. So I give you dynamics. I give you the practice problems. I also give you some practice quizzes that you can time yourself on. And so this will kind of get you started as far as what it looks like to not only study and have some practice problems for the different topics, but it'll allow you to break each topic down and make sure you've gone through it, saw it, and understand it. All right. So we don't only do practice problems, also in that document link to videos that clearly explain some of these concepts just to kind of give you a refresher. And so of course, if you want to, I took time to kind of go through and do all 14, but if you want to kind of just get started, see how it feels, if it would even be valuable for you, definitely download that free starter kit, and it's going to be available down in the description box below. Okay. Throwing a lot of information at you. Hopefully it's not overwhelming you. There's a few more things that I want to go through. You want to take a practice test. So once you've gone through all of the topics, you want to take some practice tests. So I wanted to share some helpful tests that really help you prepare, and kind of you'll get a glimpse of what the actual exam will be like. Okay, so the first test is the NCEES exam. Now, this is who is over the test. So I've linked this down in this document, which you will have access to. So when you click on the link, you'll be able to download the digital download of the FE Civil Practice Exam, and this is governed by the NCEES. Now, this test, to me, is a little easier than the actual exam. So it's a good starter kind of test just to see where you're at, I think. But if you're thinking that this test is going to be like your test, I think you're going to be a little annoyed if you go into it thinking like that. So I just want to warn you, or not warn you, but just bring awareness. This test seems to be a little bit easier than the actual exam. Okay, so you have the NCEES test. You also have a test that I think, to me, is the best of all the tests that I'm going to go through. Civil Engineering Academy exam. So they have two versions. They have a volume 1 and a volume 2. I would advise getting both. I think they do like a combo pack where you can buy two 110 question practice exams. They're not too pricey, but it gives you these tests are pretty difficult. So I would say these two exams are tougher than the actual exam. And I think that's good because you're not going to be, feeling down once you get in the exam because you've seen some of the tougher material from these practice exams, right? When you practice on something, you want it to be tougher than when you actually play in the game, or you're going to be struggling in the game, right? So yeah, these are good. They're pretty good. This is by the Civil Engineering Academy. I think it's the best test out of all the ones that I'm going to go through. And then the last one is a test that I've created. And I've linked this as well. It's another 110 question practice exam. Now, the thing that I like about it is its difficulty is about the same as the actual test, but you'll be able to see your results instantly. That's how I've created it. So I've manually gone in and made sure that this test is kind of like a simulator where you'll be timed, you'll enter in your answers, and then on the back end, you'll get your results instantly, and you'll be able to see kind of where you line up. You'll be given solutions and things like that. So, like I said, I have links to all of these tests in this document. All right, so a few last things. The next thing that you want to do to be able to determine how much time it's going to take for you to study for this test is to kind of start or to set some goals. All right, when would you like to have the test passed? All right, for some people, they want to have it done by the end of the year. All right, so that varies person to person. Some people I've worked with, this guy, he was under some pretty good pressure. His wife was like, "Bro, you have to pass this test. Like we need you to go ahead and pass this test so you can make more money. Blah blah blah. We need to have this within a month. We have a newborn." Like, it was a lot of pressure on this guy. So you kind of want to set a goal as to when you would like to take it, and then along with a goal is just an idea or a dream until you put some extra planning into it and some extra action into it. So you need a study schedule, right? This is all the stuff I went and talked about previously. That's all stuff where you're just doing the work, doing the problems, you're taking the practice exam, you're actually getting your hands dirty, right? But this part is more of the mental side of things and is just as important. So when you're thinking about creating a study schedule, you want to pick a time that you can study consistently. I want you to think about your kids, if you have kids. Think about work, like myself. And I know so many other civil engineers, you have deadlines. When work gets hectic, you have to pull some extra hours or get those submittals in or whatever the case is. So you're stretched a little bit more as far as time is concerned. Think about the gym. Um, I know all engineers don't work out. I personally work out, and I know some of the students I work with, they like to exercise and stay healthy. So think about that as in your routine. Like, when are you going to have the time to be able to study for this test? Think about relationships. You have a wife, you have a husband, you have a partner, whatever the case is. Think about those things. And so I want to give you an example. I had a client, and we were working together, and basically before we started, it wasn't something that I'd thought about too much or thought too deeply into. Other than setting a specific time when we would meet, and kind of I would quiz him and give him some practice problems to kind of go through. But basically, during this period, he was wanting to study for his test, and he was planning on getting married. So he was planning a wedding. There's so many things that go into that, right? So you gotta pick out dresses. You gotta create your list of people that you want to come to that wedding. And so at the end of the day, he's working. He's going to the gym. He has, his relationship to focus on. And so don't mention throwing a kid in the mix. And so at having a wedding and planning a wedding, it may just not be the right time for you to be studying for your FE exam, right? And if so, when are you going to have the time, right? There's only 24 hours in a day, and you just want to make sure that you have the time to be able to do that. So, yeah. So there's some other things that you want to keep in mind. Typically, studying your sessions, they probably don't need to be more than 2 hours. Say an hour to 2 hours. Some people or some programs do like 8-hour sessions of you just sitting there and kind of going through so much material. And so sometimes this can be brain overload. 8 hours going through material, by the time you finish your 8-hour session, you may have forgot what you learned in the first hour. So about an hour and a half a day. Study the material. The next day, give yourself maybe a 5 or 10 minute refresher of some of the formulas that you went through the day before, and then begin your session for that day. And then at the end of the week, review what you learned the entire week. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go super in depth, just kind of touching on some of the main points, right? So if you need help creating like a study schedule, I have created like this template that allows for you to basically put in the dates that you want to study for the test. I mean, not study for the test, the dates that you want to study the individual topics. And then kind of my rule of thumb is, hey, do you understand the concept? Have you done enough practice on that particular type of problem? And then can you complete it in under 3 minutes? And so this document is specifically for civil engineers. And you can give yourself a date range as to how, long you want to take on this particular subject, right? It goes from math to ethics to engineering economics, water engineering, structural engineering, all the way through construction. So it's tailored specifically for the civil engineers. It's pretty cool. You can jot down, those important formulas and any notes that you may have, and it's kind of a resource for you. And I'm going to add this to the document so that you have access to be able to grab that as well. Okay. So no cramming. So last thing is pretty much scheduling your exam. So give yourself enough time to be able to do at least 2 practice exams and to have gone through and reviewed the material that's going to be on the test. About 5 practice problems per concept, and I think you're good to go. So I know I've kind of gone through a lot of stuff. This video is now 30 minutes, so I don't want to overwhelm you with stuff. So the next sign that you kind of want to go into, and the last sign that you want to go into, is assessing your progress. So you want to make kind of a mental note of when you're studying really good. That could be, hey, when I study at 9 o'clock, it seems like I'm motivated and pumped up. Or, hey, when I study on my lunch break, it seems like I'm able to grasp concepts very good. Or, hey, nights aren't my thing. I'm dozing off at night. So maybe I need to have my study sessions be in the morning, or whatever the case may be. Identify and write down when you're getting stuck, right? And so in the next video, I'm going to be talking about what it looks like to get stuck and what you can do when you get stuck so that you're not feeling discouraged. Because there's a few things that happens when you get stuck. Typically, if you get stuck, you can't it's hard to wrap your head around the concept that you're looking at. You're like, there's a bunch of confusing variables and things that you have to kind of look into. And it feels like no one is explaining this stuff in basic terms. So this can be really frustrating, and it can almost make you discouraged and take some time off, which you get in this cycle of studying for a little bit. First week, you're motivated, and then second week, you're like, I'm kind of stuck. And then third week goes by, then you get caught up with deadlines, and before you know it, you haven't gone through the material. You haven't studied for the test, right? So yeah, in the next video, I'll be going through getting stuck and what that looks like. So if you found some value out of this video, make sure that you hit that like button. If you have some questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I'm going to be doing a better job of making sure that I get back with people. Your comments are very important. Questions are very important. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.